Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 10, Episode 27. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being with us this Monday, Steelers Nation. And unfortunately, Dave, we talked briefly before we started the podcast here. Steelers lose another close one, 26-23 in overtime to the Baltimore Ravens. And Steelers are really, really good at losing close games this year. Not a good trait to have for a team.
Yeah, I guess it's appropriate to start off with some more hee-haw this morning. Gloom, despair, and agony on me. No, enough of that.
I've heard that song literally enough for one
way
year.
Too much. And I think Daniel, either you or Daniel put it in the title of the game recap there, another heartbreaking loss, and one that, despite all that happened, I had a sense there once the defense came out on the field and got to stop, and I thought maybe Duck Hodges could get them in field goal range there at least, or at least get a shot at maybe a long one there. But the JuJu, as soon as JuJu fumbled that football with Justin Tucker's leg, you just had a feeling what was going to come there.
Yeah, I know you've asked me in the past, did you think this team was going to win the game? When did you think this team was going to win the game? I never really think about that, but since you've kept asking me, I've kind of thought about that. And when Devlin Hodges had that 21-yard run down the sideline, I thought, okay, this team's winning the game. They're going to get points here. There's only a couple minutes left. Defense is playing great. This one's almost over. I can't believe the Steelers are going to win this thing with Devlin Hodges. And then, of course, in Steelers fashion, not to be. And then, JuJu, another costly fumble at the end, very reminiscent of the Saints game last year, which essentially ended the Steelers season, or at least put them not in control of their own destiny. Needed Cleveland to beat, ironically enough, the Ravens for Pittsburgh to get in the playoffs. And this year, his fumble against the Ravens Sunday very well could end the Steelers season very early in this campaign.
Yeah, mathematically, obviously not out of it, but I mean, not that wild card was in play before yesterday's game. But now you have to think that, you really would have to go on a tear, with four losses. Technically, how many more can you lose before you're out of the wild card picture,
Yeah, and I know that, we knew that how important this game was leading up to this week. We talked about if you're 2-3, you beat the Ravens, you could potentially be in the first place if Cleveland were to lose tonight, and you're sitting pretty. We're talking about how great of a turnaround this team has made, and if you lose, you're 1-4. We're talking about how bad everything is. Unfortunately, we're doing the latter today and talking about how bad everything is. And I know from an outsider point of view, you're on your third string quarterback. We'll get to Mason Rudolph's injury and the injury report here in a second. And all the difficulties of the season. From an outside fan, you're probably saying, well, you're 1-4. That's to be expected. But we know how close this team has been in all three of the four losses, and really how they could have won all three of those games. And that makes it all the more disappointing and all the more frustrating.
Yeah, could have, should have, would have, right? If you win one of these close games here, then we're singing a little bit different song, but they didn't, and they had, we've talked about in the past how you got to bury those takeaways, and they didn't bury all of them. So you got to take, especially when you're on backup quarterback or backup quarterback number two, you got to make sure you bury these turns. You got to take advantage of any opportunities that you have when you have, kind of, what did Mike Tomlin say? A fragile offense, I think last week, last Tuesday there. And they didn't do it, and they didn't do it in overtime. They gave the football back to the Ravens, and you just can't do those things.
Here's a stat that blows my mind. The Steelers have won the turnover battle in 4 games this year. They are 1-3 in those games. The rest of the NFL, when they win the turnover battle, or at least +1, 37-8-1. Again, the Steelers are 1-3. So they are in winnable situations, even despite all the adversity they're facing, and they just simply cannot find a way to win.
Yeah, we talked about being kind of worried about defense to start off with. Steelers had 15 total takeaways all last season, already have 12 this season through 5 games with a +5 in the differential stat.
Yeah, they are tied for the NFL lead in takeaways, not turnover differential, but takeaways, and they are third in sacks, and they are 1-4. And you have to try to hit those numbers and still be 1-4.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I mean,
if you had told me that those numbers would, to third in sacks, tied first in takeaways, you think, okay, this is a 4-1, 5-0 team.
yeah, absolutely.
So, obviously, again, the circumstances no Ben. That's obvious. But speaking of no Ben, let's get to the injury report. Then we'll delve back into this game. Obviously, the big news here is Mason Rudolph's concussion. To me, honestly, in terms of Steelers Ravens, maybe the hardest and most vicious and violent hit I've seen just on the impact of it. I think it's right up there with the Ryan Clark, Willis McGay hit in the championship game, back in, I think, 2008 it was. Rudolph is now at home, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. He went to the hospital after Sunday's game, was released, apparently in some good spirits. Some teammates have talked to him, including James Conner and Zach Banner. So I think that's the latest on Rudolph, the information that came in late Sunday evening, Sunday night. But just a terrible, terrible collision between Earl Thomas and Mason Rudolph, and that was very scary for a few minutes.
Absolutely, it was, especially the way he dropped right away and the way he laid motionless, motionless on the field and stayed down there. It was super scary, especially to Steeler fans who witnessed what Ryan Shazier went through a couple of years ago as well. Look, I guess this is the way we're going to start this thing off, and I know it's going to be a very unpopular opinion, but I didn't see it as an egregious act. I think it warranted the flag, which seemed to take a while to get on the field.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I think that's wrong. The flag should have been thrown right from the get-go. But it wasn't. If you want to take issue with that, I'm fine. If you want to, most definitely Earl Thomas should be fined for that hit, and he will be. I will be shocked if he wouldn't. If he isn't. But the other thing is, I just did not view it as an egregious, ejectable act.
I agree. I haven't weighed in on it too much because it's kind of
because it's controversial too, and people want you to say, "Hey, throw him out of the game," because because we do what we do. We're supposed to side always with the Steelers.
I'm not entirely sure what the rule is in terms of what hits get you ejected. I haven't read it enough. He did launch, he did leave his feet, albeit just by a little bit, but he still did. So maybe by the letter of the law, that's an ejectable hit. I didn't view it as a dirty, malicious hit, and I don't know if that changes anything. I don't know if that makes anyone feel better or worse, but I didn't view it as a dirty hit, a violent hit, and one that was worthy of a flag and fine, and potentially an ejection based on the law, because I don't know what the rule book is. I haven't read it, but I did not view it as a dirty, malicious hit.
No, I did not view him as trying to hit Mason in the chin, Yeah.
But he did launch.
There was, but we don't see all angles. It'd be interesting to say. And we probably won't get a better angle from the all 22 and all. But the launch. He's barely off.
He's barely off. He's off the ground.
He's barely off the ground. But I think he's trying to make the strike point right there in the chest.
Sure. But barely off the ground is off the ground still.
Yeah, but I still didn't view it as a malicious hit. That's now would he but it doesn't matter because it's not a reviewable like it is in college, and we're probably going to get to that. Everything's going to be reviewed before too long, and Art Rooney even said it in a recent interview. Man, we already have enough stuff that's being reviewed now. It is the thing though that we're New York can look at that and could have ejected him after the fact, but they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom Pelissero from NFL Network tweeted this morning, Earl Thomas isn't expected to be suspended for the hit that knocked out Steelers quarterback Mason Rudolph yesterday, I'm told. The play will be reviewed for a possible fine. Not a surprise given the play was reviewed and Thomas was flagged but not ejected.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect a suspension. I don't believe that's a suspension-worthy hit. And some will disagree because of the emotions of the moment and how violent it was. Again, it was a violent, terrible, vicious collision. And
he was sandwiched too, and that probably played a little. How much that played a part in that, I don't know. But look, if everybody's hollering that he should have been ejected, make sure you're hollering the next time Bud Dupree. I view Bud Dupree's hit on Russell Wilson 3 times more egregious. You know.
Yeah, I think that was worse. That was an ejectable worthy hit. The Dupree had on Russell Wilson.
So if you're not going to eject him, for that, you can't look at the result bias here.
Mm-hmm. And I think Rudolph was out by the time before he hit the ground. Hitting the ground again violently like that while unconscious doesn't help, I'm sure, with the concussion he's dealing with. But again, I don't want to dwell on that too much because
I'm going to get a lot of email on it, so I want to make sure to get my side out there on it.
Sure. No, I largely agree. I don't think it was a dirty hit. But my concern right now is just how this team moves forward, and then obviously for Mason Rudolph's health and that he gets better and gets cleared and just gets able to get past this the best way possible and as soon as possible.
And why don't you recap what the great Dr. Mel had to write about that?
Yeah, our Dr. Melanie Friedlander. I mean, she's fantastic to get that article in so quickly, just within hours after the end of the game, kind of giving a timetable on when Rudolph will return. She's pretty pessimistic on him coming back for Sunday's game. Obviously, no one knows, and we'll see what Tomlin has to say Tuesday, but all the steps he has to clear and kind of compared it to Antonio Brown's concussion suffered against the Bengals in that wild card game several years back. Probably isn't going to come back this week, which isn't a surprise considering just how violent and how bad the hit was. But you can check out her full article on SteelersDepot.com to kind of break down Rudolph's injury and then the steps he has to pass moving forward to get cleared again.
Yeah, and you would have to think, man, he's not gonna. You would think he's not gonna pass protocol by Wednesday, and that's just guessing. I mean, obviously Dr. Mel knows a lot more than I do on these kind of things, and you have a Sunday night game, and I think the prudent thing to do would be just to, look, if he can clear, he can clear. So we'll just leave it at that. We'll see what Tomlin and the doctors have to say.
Yeah. Anything else with the injury report? I mean, I didn't even really check it out, just knowing that everything's centered around Mason Rudolph.
James Washington with a left AC shoulder sprain, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. He landed on that pretty damn hard, and obviously didn't return there, and then Mark Barron left, I guess, right there in the first half with a hamstring injury and did not return from what I saw there either. So it'd be interesting to see what happens with those two, especially with how short the look. I mean, that boomerang could come around back this week to Dante Moncrief. We'll have to see. I mean, Ryan Switzer played only 2 more snaps. I think he's played 4 snaps. Offensive snaps total in the last 3 games, talking about Switzer. I mean, if you that and you look at the Washington injury, and what a mess the wide receiver core is right now.
Yeah, that's a great way to sum it up, a mess. And then real quick to circle back to Rudolph, the last thing, and again, this is all, in the past, what can you do? But it did irk me is the fact that they made him walk off the field. I don't know what was going on with the cart, with it not operational or whatever, but he's got to come off on some sort of transportation. He can't walk the whole way to the sideline, down the tunnel after getting, concussed like that. I mean, I know he's getting help by teammates, but that just, to me, unacceptable. I don't care if he wanted to walk off or whatever. He's got to be transported off, not walk off.
That, not only the concussion, but you're worried about the neck and spine and everything that goes along with that. So, I mean, look, it was apparent he wasn't coming back into that game. So just take the necessary steps. I mean, they had already taken his face mask off of him, everything. Wait just a little bit longer for the other cart. I take it there was another cart according to the release from the league or whatnot. Get it out there, and evidently it was operator error on the cart to begin with. I think I read, but I mean, just don't roll them off to the side. I mean, I know you probably haven't seen the Spinal Tap movie before, but it kind of reminiscence of them trying to wander the backstage there in Spinal Tap backstage in Cleveland there, making that guy limp off the field, and it was what a mess.
Yeah, again, mess is probably a good way to sum up that game and sum up this season, unfortunately. So let's jump into the game itself. I know we usually start with the offense, but I want to start with the defense here, Dave, and kind of review how they did. And they were clearly and are the strength of this team, and they continue to make big plays, and I thought they played a heck of a game and did not deserve to lose that one.
Yeah, you go back to in concert, right? Kind of.
They're out of harmony right now.
Right.
Defense.
The defense is. Look, I mean, they had the Ravens only had 2 explosive plays in the game. And one of them was the pass short to the middle to Andrews that he ran after the catch, and the other one was another short pass to Willie Snead that he ran for 23 yards. So 24 and 23 yards were your two longest plays given up by the Steelers defense. The next longest, you had three plays worth 14 yards there, and actually one of those 14-yard plays was a scramble by Jackson for 9 yards that had an extra 5 yards of holding on Mark Barron tacked onto it there. So you didn't give up the big play. I don't think I'll have to go back and look the actual passing distance of the end zone yards on the touchdown to Marquise Brown to see what was the length of that touchdown. Let me look here. That was a 11-yard touchdown, and where did he catch that ball? More than half into the end zone.
7, 8 yards.
Yeah, so I guess technically they gave up one deep pass down the field, if you want to look at it that way. But that was it. One pass completion over 15 yards past the line of scrimmage. Did they play as well as they? Here's the thing. The Ravens were 6 of 15 on third downs. You probably could have stood to be a little bit better on one or two more of those, especially on one of those. I think, was it in the first half where, they just let Andrews kind of run free and against zone in there. It might have been Mark Barron on that one. Which way did he go kind of thing there. It was no secret going into this game that Mark Andrews was going to be Jackson's top target, and especially on third down. And I guess holding them to 40% overall is okay, but one or two more get-offs there, maybe talking about a different story here.
Sure, there's always plays you could want back as a defensive touchdown, giving up to Hollywood Brown, especially the game-ending drive in the fourth quarter, which we'll talk about more in depth in the Adeney penalty. But, for as potent as the Ravens' offense was, they were first in basically every or most offensive categories, especially the big ones. You can't be mad about the performance this team put up. They created turnovers, they got after the quarterback. The run defense was good enough. I didn't think it was spectacular, but I thought it was pretty good. I actually think the defense played better as the game went on. Didn't give up the big play. Really, what more do you want out of this unit? And again, they just put this offense and this team in position to win and just couldn't get the job done.
Well, how many second half points did they give up?
Was it 17 at the half?
3 field goals, right? 3 field goals?
And then that one came in overtime. So
right.
You gave up, 6 points in the second half? Not including overtime?
Not including overtime, right.
Yeah. So what more can you do against, again, a Ravens team that was averaging like 33.5 points per game and just first in so many categories? Their contain was solid overall. Again, Mike Hilton played a heck of a game. Micah Fitzpatrick, what an addition he's been. His instincts, ability to drive on the football are just top notch. Devin Bush with an incredible interception down the seam after getting jumping off sides on that fourth down. They let the Ravens keep the drive alive. You got playmakers in this defense. It took literally investing everything into this defense to get them to this level, but they are to this level, and now the offense is the side that's struggling very much.
Yeah, I think and one or two of them probably ticky-tack there. The Watt, what was it, encroachment or offsides or whatnot? That was, and unforceable errors. You got to stop those.
Yeah, but again,
unforced errors.
Sure, but overall, I'm very happy with how the
defense
sure.
Look,
hats off to him.
I haven't looked to see what the adjusted net yards per passing attempt stat is, coming out of that game there. But they're getting in range where you're wanting a defense to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, on a short week, it's Steelers Ravens. It's physical. You're probably tired. You haven't had as much practice. The good news is most of this defense. I was thinking about this last night, Dave. Most of this defense should come back next year. The only two I think you're missing. Sean Davis, but you have Minka for him, are Javon Hargrave and Bud Dupree, and I would still love to find a way to get Hargrave back. Dupree can walk, I can live with that, even though he is playing well this year. But to lose Hargrave would definitely be a gut punch. But the defense should still mostly be intact for 2020.
Yeah, you have to think Barron's not coming back, right?
Yeah, but I'm not. I'm right. Okay with it.
Okay. All right. The defense played good enough to win.
Yeah, more than good enough to win. They were excellent.
Right.
I thought. But do you want to jump to the offense now, or any other thoughts for the defense?
I'm trying to think what else there is to talk about the defense.
Yeah.
I mean, Sutton had a couple more nice plays. Boy, he's come along nicely, especially in that kind of dime extra defensive back package there. So not a couple nice plays on him. Hilton continues to be great against the run and did a great job of really reading. And that wasn't a trap, right? On that interception, that was just him reading the quarterback.
Yeah, just hook curl defender in zone coverage and just saw it and sank and found the football. It was a great play.
Yeah, bad decision on Jackson's part. So, and Jackson wasn't good. Look, we talked a little bit, Jackson had the hot start there against teams like the Dolphins and the Cardinals, but overall, I haven't thought I don't think he's played great. They definitely kind of took the football out of his hands later in that game, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at one point he was like 7 for 15 for 98 yards, a touchdown and 3 picks, and he kind of got it going a little bit late. But yeah, I mean, for the majority of that game, he was doing little to nothing for their offense.
Now, real quick, I don't want to try to spread too much joy and and optimism here, but where are you right now on this Ravens team and that defense? I mean, this is a Ravens team right now that's 3-2. 2 of their wins have come against Miami and Arizona. 2 of their losses, Chiefs and the Browns, and of course they beat the Steelers yesterday. They got to give me this next week against the Bengals.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're a Steelers fan, you better hope you become big Cincinnati fans that they can get on track somehow this week. But, I mean, other than that, look, I mean, they've got the Seahawks. They got the Patriots still on the schedule. They have the Texans, the Rams, the 49ers, the Browns again, and then they close out with the Steelers there. What is this? Where do you see this Baltimore Ravens team going? I mean, at best, is this a 9-17?
I think 9-7 has a good chance to win the division, regardless of who that is, whether that's Cleveland or Baltimore. I don't know exactly where they're at. You're right; that's a much tougher schedule, and you'll get a good feel for what the Ravens are a month from now. But back in week 1, I took some this because it was Miami, but I just said, and I said this in the offseason too, that Baltimore is going to be a tough out. And that's just how I view them, is that every game they play, it's going to be a tough out. It's going to be competitive. The team's got to play really well to beat Baltimore. Not that Baltimore's this elite team, but they know who they are. They're physical in the trenches. I think they're going to get better as the season goes along. So they may be a 9-17. That's probably fair, but I think they're going to be a tough out for anyone.
All right, we'll see what Cleveland's made of Monday night.
Yeah, against did you pick the 49ers or Cleveland to win this one? Do you remember?
I don't remember if I picked Cleveland to no, I think I picked the 49ers. I don't remember, Alex.
Okay. I think we both picked San Francisco. But yeah, we'll check that one, and we're obviously rooting for the 49ers tonight. I mean, again, I don't know how much it's going to matter at this point when the Steelers are 1-4, but better for San Francisco to win than for Cleveland to win.
Somebody's got to win the division.
No one's trying. Everyone's trying to let someone else have it. But yeah, Pittsburgh again, man. If you win that game, I mean, just the scope of the conversation. We're talking about a 2-3 team, and yeah, they're in a tough place with Hodges. But you're 2-3. We could be potentially leading the AFC North tonight had you beat Baltimore, had Cleveland lost. Instead, you're 1-4, and it just looks bleak.
I guess the only other thing to talk about defense here, they allowed an average gain of 3.8 yards per play.
I mean, that's an insanely good number. And the run defense was rough in the first quarter, but they really locked it down. I think after the first quarter, the run defense was excellent. So, I mean, again, you could not expect more out of a defense that is tied first in takeaways in the NFL and third in sacks and on pace to have another potentially 56, 60 sack type season. So, I mean, it's been excellent from them.
And where did I say we're at in total turnovers right now?
In turnover differential?
In total turnovers, they have 12? What did I say? 12 turnovers on the season.
12 takeaways. Yeah.
12 takeaways. Yeah.
Yep. That's
and so they're almost halfway to the magic number of 25. Yet we're talking about a 1-4 team here.
Yeah, they had 12 takeaways in 12 games last year, and they got 12-5. And it was something that was preached in OTAs and training camp, and obviously you get more talent, more playmakers. They're making the plays, but yeah, it's just they're a one-shoe team. They got the offense, the defense. You got one shoe on. Last year was the offense. This year's the defense. Just can't get both feet covered up.
All right, shall we go to the offense?
Yeah, let's start with Rudolph. Obviously, with his injury, he's very uncertain for next week against the Chargers. But I thought he played a heck of a game before going down, especially on that throw that got him hurt. I mean, a third down play, evading the sack, hitting Washington, moving the sticks. I mean, that was just, I think, the best play I've seen Mason Rudolph make as a Pittsburgh Steeler. Unfortunately, came out at one heck of a price.
Obviously, you shouldn't look and judge a quarterback just by his passing chart alone, but it sure does look a lot better this week. He was pushing the ball down down the field right where we wanted him to, right in that 7 to kind of 12 range. He took a couple of shots down the field, further down the field as well too. I thought he progressed nicely. I'm looking at it over right now here. Let's see, 1, 2. Let's see, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, quite a few of them over. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is it 8 or 9? I think over 10 yards there. I keep getting confused what they do with this blue dot here. I guess that is a pass that ended up in a touchdown there. So he had only maybe 2.5 passes behind the line of scrimmage there. A lot of green dots past the line of scrimmage there, meaning completions. So a lot better showing overall. And as you mentioned, the play that he was knocked out on, what a great play that was by him.
Yeah, I think you've seen his even though he's not a mobile quarterback, as he's gotten more comfortable, he's become a more mobile guy. I think his ability to slide within the pocket on plays earlier in the game and be able to create an extra quarter or half second for himself to get a throw off has been really important. So it's just pocket presence in general, I think, has really taken big steps. It's one of the largest improvements I've seen in his game, and it's really, really helped him out.
Right. I mean, and it's so sad to see him make that progression and be kind of in the way he was trending there, at the start of the second half there, and then for him to go down was frustrating to see. Like I said, to see him have such a good kind of first half of football, good enough first half of football. I mean, it wasn't great by no sense of imagination. Could have probably connected on one or two. He had one over there on the sideline. I think it ended up getting the play didn't count because of either defensive holding or something like that. But probably an ill-advised pass along the sideline that probably should have been picked off. But once again, that was wiped out by a penalty anyway.
Yeah, and speaking of that, Duck Hodges, I thought he played well considering all of the circumstances and how just crummy they were. Now, he caught his mulligan on the Earl Thomas interception, which was negated by defensive holding, so he kind of realized and he was able to make a mistake of what happens in the NFL when you throw across your body middle of the field. But just overall, I'm glad today they let him push the ball down the field, but B, that he was able to do that and stand tall and make some plays. I mean, we're talking a third-string rookie UDFA here, so the bar's pretty low, but I thought he was impressive for just coming in off the bench and his first NFL debut, Steelers Ravens, with the game on the line and able to move this offense down the field.
The moment did not look too big for him at all, and he came in. I think he even talked about changing the protection on the first snap there.
Yeah, you can see it, too. I went back and watched it. Yeah, changing protection, blitz on the right side.
Look, I mean, like you said, I'm looking at his passing chart too. A lot of green on it, and 3 of them past 10 yards down the line of scrimmage. A good decision, I thought, to take off. And Ducks can run. Did you know that?
Yeah, again, a 21-yard run he had. I thought, this is it. This team's going to win the game.
So, I mean, overall, the quarterback play, you have to come out of that game thinking, okay, a little something there. Now, I guess the big question is, and we'll get a better sense by the time the middle of the week rolls around. You would think that if Rudolph can't go, Paxton Lynch would be the guy to get promoted to back up Hodges, but it would be Hodges that would get the start Sunday night if Rudolph can't.
Yeah, I would imagine. I would believe so and hope so. And again, this is a guy that had a great career at Stanford, has played in pressure moments before. I think it was his senior year last year. They played Florida State at Florida State, and they lost that game, but they had the lead late. Like, he had a heck of a performance Hodges did against the Seminoles. So, he's been in big moments before and has risen to the moment. I thought he did that again on Sunday. He's got to go as the starter against LA, then so be it. I don't think the moment's going to be too big for him. I don't know if he'll play well. We'll see. I think he'll do a reasonably good job for where he's at, but it's just crazy. In May this year, we're not talking about Devlin Hodges. No one knows who he is. He's a tryout guy. He beats out Brogan Roback for the job, and then he's on his ascent, and now very well could be your starter Sunday. So just a crazy couple of months for Devlin Hodges, but Well deserved, well earned, and we'll see what he can do.
And I think he has the respect of his teammates too. Judging by the quotes and all. David DeCastro saying the things that he said after the game, and a few others as well too. So, look, you don't plan to be on your third quarterback come the sixth game of the season, but here you are.
Yeah, and again, I'm going to probably tweet this out later. The quarterback room, the healthy quarterback room, at least in week one, was Ben, Rudolph, and Dobbs. And now, Rudolph's there, but he's injured currently. It's Devlin Hodges, Paxton Lynch, and Taron Christensen. So what a difference a month makes.
And now, do you with Rudolph down, do you cut Taron this week, or do you let him hang on another week here?
Yeah, he might hang out another week. I'm not too sure, but it wouldn't be surprising if they kept him around.
We'll know by Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, I want to take a step back and just go to Randy Fichtner. I think I give Fichtner credit for how he handled the game plan with Hodges in it. I don't think he kind of shrunk everything down, and the offense operated generally the same way. And he's in a really tough spot without a couple of receivers and just the struggles of that group in general, and obviously on your third string quarterback, a rookie UDFA. But I hated how that game started. It's just been so bad at scripting the first 15 plays. They come out in Wildcat, that they ran too much Wildcat, even though they only did it about 5 or 6 times. The Wildcat pass from Jalen Samuels, just a terrible play call. Not because they tried something tricky. We talked about that. I was in favor of it, actually. But, why are you trying to have the payoff of a trick play being a 5-yard completion to James Washington? Like, that's the best that was going to happen on that play. It's just a weird situational play call, and that was frustrating from Fichtner.
When I called for a Jalen Samuels pass, I was envisioning something around midfield or in plus territory, and it being some sort of a double pass type situation. Like I pulled, like we talked about with the clips at NC State there, kind of all or nothing kind of play.
Right. You should have been more specific with your accurate prediction.
I guess so. I mean, and I think you phrased it correctly. In what was the win? What was the max win on that play there?
Yeah, like a 7-yard dump off to Washington's at best, the result of that play. So it's not worth it, is what I'm trying to say.
So you're going to shoot your cannon for that, That did not make sense right there. And props to the who was that Baltimore that did a great job of holding up Washington coming out and then beelining right for Samuel. Samuel should have obviously Samuel should have just thrown that thing away or ate it,
Yeah. But when you put those guys in those positions, they don't make great decisions. That's why quarterbacks get paid to throw the ball.
Now, obviously, if he completes that, are we talking about the play? We probably should be, but I don't know how much results bias flips in there. But the fact of the matter is, what you gain by breaking out a halfback pass or Wildcat pass in that situation was just not worth it.
Yeah, backed up in your own territory. Just silly. So I don't know how you thought Fichtner did an overall job for the game. I thought he did better as the game went on. But again, some situational stuff that was dumb. I mean, that play, obviously, later in the game, I think second quarter, you're in 2nd and 1 around the Ravens, 10, 15-yard line, and you run the Wildcat again. You try to get on the edge, and you lose, 6 yards, and then you get sacked on 3rd down. So Fichtner turns a 2nd and 1 driving into a 4th and 17 and a field goal. I mean, that's just a missed opportunity there that could have changed the game. So just some situational stuff that was dumb from Fichtner.
And wasn't that off the turnover?
I'd have to look. It sounds about right, but I honestly don't remember right now.
But I mean, you got to bury those. You got to bury those. Yeah. Those. Let's see. They had 4 plays. Wasn't that off of the interception? I think that was off of the interception there. They went 4 plays, negative 12 yards.
Yeah, was that the Cam Kelly pick? That's the one that wasn't the Hilton interception.
I think so.
Yeah. I mean, so that was the downhill run game. It worked well enough. I mean, you can get a yard. I mean, Randy Fichtner talked about how if you can't get a yard with your running back, then that's on you. Well, he tried. Why did he call this little perimeter play out of the Wildcat on 2nd and 1 when you can just get downhill with your running back like he talked about, and then you get sacked, which wasn't his fault. I mean, I guess they get sacked on 3rd down passing, but again, you just turn a 2nd and 1 into a 4th and forever, and that's just not acceptable.
I thought Johnson did some good things on working his way back to the football on a couple of those routes, doing a good job on getting separation and all. JuJu, obviously, I wrote in my keys that Yak was going to have to be you're going to have to get some extra Yak, help these young quarterbacks out, and he certainly did how many times are they going to run that Yankee concept, Alex?
As long as it keeps working. I ran it like 3 times Sunday.
JuJu did a great job, but it should have been a sign early on the way Humphrey was trying to knock that football out. And JuJu said after the game he should have known the way they were kind of attacking him to punch that football out there. I mean, great yak on that touchdown to JuJu on that Yankee concept. Had the defenders really rub each other off, I thought, there. But Washington 3 catches for 52 yards. I'm trying to envision what one of those I think was over on the sideline, or no, one of those was kind of a quick. I don't know what you call that? The Rudolph to Washington one that gained like 12 yards or whatever that was, 20-something yards down the right hand side there. But good connect. Good to see Rudolph and Washington connect there. They tried to put one of those. Didn't Samuels have a drop in that? One of those?
Yeah, it was a angle screen that was, I think, thrown by Hodges that hit him in the hands, and Samuels dropped it.
The Holton, he had a deep one to Holton that it was a little bit too long there. Yeah. Another long one to Johnson that he probably did the right thing of holding up that defender, right? Would that have been picked?
I don't know. Kind of pushed him into it. Maybe knocked him off balance, but I couldn't tell you if that would have been picked by Canada or not.
You go back and you look at the number of receptions here. They don't, they obviously don't add up to a bunch overall there. I mean, you had seven for 7 for JuJu. You had 3 for Washington, 3 for McDonald, 5 for Johnson. Samuels had 3, and Holton and Vanette each had a target and didn't bring it in.
Yeah, maybe by week 17 they'll put the deep ball to Johnny Holton.
Well, I mean, what are you gonna do now if Washington's out? I mean, you almost have to use you got to use Holton as a Z then.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, JuJu can play the Z. You may have Switzer come in the fold more and play slot. If Deontay can slide to the slot some more, obviously Moncrief would be likely to get a hat. We'll just see what Washington's status is. He was obviously in some pain right after the catch or the incompletion, I think it was, to him. So we'll see what his status. But I think you have some options. I think JuJu will just play a lot of the Z, though. Maybe not as much Holton.
Were you surprised not that many touches for Samuels?
Well, I only had, 50-some plays overall? I think 53 plays. Do you have the number on that? How many total offensive snaps
looks
they
like
ran?
51 offensive plays here.
Yeah, and he had how many touches? 8?
He had 3 attempts on the run. He had an incomplete pass, or he had an intercepted pass.
Yeah.
And then he had 4 targets, 3 receptions.
All right, so he was in there about 10 plays. I mean, that's that's a decent amount considering you only ran 51 plays, so that number doesn't really shock me in itself. I thought the line protected well. I thought they did a good job. I think the Lions played well the last 2 weeks. Just, again, some situational stuff. Third down, again, terrible in possession downs, 3-9. The 3-9 is actually good for where the Steelers are at. I mean, that's a sad statement to make. So, again, struggles on possession downs. It's really just more of the same for the offense. There just isn't a whole lot going on. Not getting enough big plays. The run game's been hard to commit to, and they're just bad on possession downs and some red zone inefficiency as well.
Yeah, and then you shoot yourself in the foot by throwing the interception in your own red zone there to start off with.
Yeah. You put yourself in a 10-0 hole real early into that game that you're trying to climb out of the rest of the way.
The Steelers actually had 4 explosive plays in the game.
Yeah, so would that be the JuJu touchdown, Hodges run?
You had the Washington, the pass from Rudolph to Washington for 26. Yeah. You had the JuJu 35-yard touchdown. You had the Hodges scramble for 21, and then you had another pass to Washington for 21.
Yeah, so good to see Washington make some big plays. I thought this would be a week for him to be able to make some plays. It wasn't obviously a spectacular week, but it was probably his best week so far. So I was happy to see that. Unfortunate that it ended though with an injury.
They moved the football. I mean, generally, not really when you wanted them in the red zone there, like probably you wanted them to, or when it was in plus territory. I'm trying to look real quick to see where all the drives here started at for them. 11, 12, 25. These are the in order and in Pittsburgh territory. 11, 12, 25, and 25. So not great. Obviously not great starting position on their first four. They had the touchdown on the third possession there, and then they had the interception that they took over at the Baltimore 16. They only got a field goal out of that. Then they started at their own 20. Then after the interception at the Ravens 25, boy, you had the two turnovers there, just 6 points. But yet you turn around, you get an interception in your own end of the field, and you drive down. That was the drive that Rudolph got hurt on. You end up driving the field and getting the touchdown there. All right, talk to us about the kickoffs here and Tomlin's decision in overtime to let the Ravens have the ball first and essentially have the opportunity to win a ball game, or is there something else left over?
I just wanted to mention really quickly the other issue with the offense is just, and it's just one we've talked about before, it's fairly obvious, but just the lack of points off of turnovers. Since the 49ers game, the Steelers defense has created 10 takeaways. The Steelers offense has just 25 points off those 10 takeaways. Against the 49ers, 5 takeaways, 6 points off them. Against the Bengals, 2 takeaways, 6 points off of them. Against Baltimore Sunday, 3 takeaways, 13 points off of them. So the offense just not capitalizing enough when the defense creates takeaways.
And that's what I said at the top of the show. You got to bury those, especially with second, third string quarterbacks. You got short fields like that, 16, 25 yards to go. You got to find a way to bury those.
Just one touchdown off a turnover since the 49ers game. The other point I want to mention really briefly is that our buddy Darth Yinzer pointed this out to me today in a comment. The Steelers' first possessions of every game have all ended in punts, only gotten 1 first down off of every opening drive in each game of the season. So just a really bad script and a really bad start for the Steelers offense.
Yeah, but we've seen the Steelers offense over the years not start great anyway with Ben Roethlisberger at quarterback.
Sure, but it was helpful because, you had Ben at quarterback and you probably figure it out. It's a little bit harder, obviously, when dealing with Mason Rudolph and now with Devlin Hodges. So, I don't know. You're not starting well, and that's not doing you any favors. I just want to make mention of that.
Well, definitely when you're throwing an interception, too, off of a Wildcat pass.
All right, so Tomlin's decision. It surprised me, but I think looking back on it, and then obviously in hindsight, it certainly looked like a good decision. So Tomlin decided to kick off to start overtime despite winning the coin toss and certainly being able to receive had they wanted to. Tomlin said, and I can put up the quote here. Actually, I should here in a second. But just citing how poor the Steelers' kick return game was and how terrible field positions they'd gotten every time the Ravens kicked off, and why he decided, to trust his defense and bet on them to make a play, which they did. Got a 3-and-out, got Steelers ball back at the 30-yard line. So Tomlin asked about it after the game for why he kicked off. Tomlin said, quote, "Man, did you see our kickoff return team at this game? Did you see their kickoff team every time they put the ball up on about the 2-yard line and Tucker hung the ball in about 4.5 seconds? We couldn't get back to the 15. Why would I sign up for that?" He went on to say, "I put the defense on the field in an effort to fight for field position and put the onus on them to get the stop. So when we got the ball back on the 30-something, which is dramatically different than when our kick return team took the field all afternoon," which he's right about. It was a gamble, obviously, but I think looking back, a good decision. And just to hear him say it, not even just me reading it, but to hear the interview, he was as mad as anything about the performance of the kick return team and how abysmal they were.
All right, so do something about it. Show me.
Me?
Me?
No,
him.
Yeah.
Don't tell me about the labor pains, man. Show me the baby. That's my favorite quote when it comes to stuff like this. I mean, he flat out said that, you know what, we suck on a return team.
Yeah.
All right. So is it magically going to get better?
No, and I wrote this. I think you have to make some sort of big shakeup, whether that's with the blockers, with the return guy, bringing somebody in from the outside, or maybe having Deontay Johnson back there. You can't go in with the same unit that you just had in this Ravens game, because on the Steelers kick returns, they averaged like 14 yards per kick return on 3 attempts. They got back to the 11, the 12 because of a penalty, and then like the 15-yard line. I mean, just horrendous output from your kick return team.
Don't tell me how good. Boy, Tucker's so damn good at dropping that ball about at the 2. Was that a surprise going into the game, Mike? that he was going to be able to pinpoint those. You were talking about the best kicker and the best punter in the NFL. All right, these guys know what they're doing. And that's where special teams can really make the difference here. So don't set yourself up now to have another kicker do the same thing for you and say, why would I sign up for that?
I think he was being fairly critical of his own team. He started by saying, "Did you see our kick return team? We couldn't do anything."
Right. So do something about it. You think they're having second thoughts now about letting Deontay Spencer go in lieu of Ryan Switzer?
Yeah, they might be. I know Spencer's had some sort of issues in Denver, kind of judging punts and stuff, but he's definitely created some explosive play. So I think bottom line is you got to make some sort of change. I would probably bring in somebody from the outside. I don't know who that would be, but I probably would have somebody other than Switzer or Johnny Holton. Again, I'd be fine with releasing either of those guys if that's what was required to get a new guy into the fold. And I know that I am the resident Danny Smith apologist on this podcast, but I've been as critical as anybody about the kick return team for years now and how consistently poor they've been, and there really are no good excuses for it. They've been 29th and 31st, I think, each of the last 2 years in kick return average, and they're probably going to be similar right now after this week concludes. So it's just been a habitual issue that's not getting any better.
What is their longest kickoff return on the season?
I can look.
Hold on, I'll pull that up for you right now here. Kickoff returns, 26 by Switzer. And I'm willing to bet that one came out of the end zone. I don't know, maybe not. But he has the Steelers are averaging 18.1 yards per kickoff return. Punt return average is 6.3 and Switzer's 4.7.
Yeah, Switzer at least had the one punt return. It was like 13 yards late in that game. Steelers are 29th in the NFL in kick return average at 18.1. So it's ugly. Yeah, field position is such a big thing. The Ravens were already going to have good enough specialists that could flip the field and kick field goals and punts and all that. But the kick return team was – and I don't know what the issue was. I'll have to go back on the L-22. There was definitely some bad blocking there, but also, on the opening kickoff, why is Johnny Holton taking that one out? I know you're only 2 yards deep, but take a knee, let it go. I mean, why are you even testing it? It's just silly.
And he got sat down pretty quick, didn't he?
Yeah, down to the 11. It's just, again, you're just trying to rotate guys. You don't have the dynamic guys back there. You got some blocking issues, I'm sure. It's just a mess. I mean, again, we're using that word a lot today. Unfortunately, a mess, and Tomlin was really pissed about that, as he should be. But changes have to be made there. Absolutely.
I mean, look, you have are you afraid to put too much on Deontay Johnson's plate at this point to let him do either kickoff or returns? And if memory serves me, Cameron Sutton wasn't too damn bad at it in college.
Yeah, he did the return lines in training camp. Johnson can be a dynamic guy. I guess there is a worry about decision-making and ball security, which is the one thing you could say about Switzer. I think his ball security and decision-making is very good, but you're not going to get much in terms of a dynamic performance from either of those guys. But also blocking is an issue too. I don't want to put it all on the return guys. Some of those were really poorly blocked. Switzer had the one decent return that got negated by a Dane holding call. We actually made a couple guys miss, but there was no blocking on that play at all. That was all created by Ryan Switzer. So it's not all on the return guys. There's a blocking element to it. Obviously, that's a clear issue as well.
Well, you're 1-4 now. You better go ahead and try something different at this point when it comes to your special teams and your return game here.
Yep. So I mean,
your head coach comes out and says, "Why would I sign up for that?" That means he doesn't like his special teams units, his return units.
Yeah, I would change some of the blockers, and hopefully some of the injuries will be able to help that. If you get Chick back, if you get Nix back, those guys are both on the kick block team. But I also would look to make a change in terms of who my kick returner is as well, just to try to create a spark.
Yeah, I mean, as mad as he was, if he doesn't excuse me, if he doesn't drastically change this up this week, then that's all just air coming out of his mouth and frustration.
That's just poor coaching if we don't make a change when there's a clear issue. Where else do you want to go from here? I mean, we can talk about JuJu and the fumble, and we kind of touched on that early in the show. I mean, what do you make of it?
Let's go back to the decision, though. I mean, I guess I get it. I mean, from a results bias look at it, and in Mike's defense a little bit now. I mean, you had a third string quarterback in there. Did you really want? Did you, even if Tucker kicks that through the end zone, All right. In fact, if how did had had Baltimore kicked off, what are you telling Tucker to do in that situation? You're probably just telling
Kick
him
it
to kick.
short.
Really, I would probably tell him to kick it through the end zone.
Nah, I mean, again, they got back to the 11, the 12, and the 15, and all the kick returns. I mean, why would I not try that again?
Just from the sheer fact you don't want to lose the game in overtime on a return. I want
Well, I think the Steelers were not going to
I
be
want
capable
that
of
third
that.
string quarterback out there. But I mean, regardless, I mean,
They got a third string kick return team, so I'm testing them too.
all right. So, but I mean, overall, from a results bias standpoint, it was the right decision.
Yeah, obviously, if they go down the field and score, we're all killing Tomlin for that, and that's just how the game goes. But it was a good decision. I mean, you really can't deny that. Based on obviously how it worked, that was the gamble that Tomlin had. The defense would get a stop, but the defense had played well. You're out there with a third string quarterback, and let's say you go 3 and out. If you elect to receive, you go 3 and out. Tucker's got a big leg, but basically you're already going to be in field goal range. Baltimore is with 1 first down, with an average punt by Jordan Berry. And the game's going to be over. So, I mean, I understand the logic. Would I have done it? I probably would have had the guts to make a decision like that, but I understand why he did it, and that's the least of my issues. I think, obviously, it turned out to be a good decision by Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, like I said, that's the least of their worries, that actual decision. But if you dig deeper, like we said, with the special teams and return units and all like that, that's what forced his hand in that situation.
Yeah, I mean,
that and having a third string quarterback, obviously.
Right. Any decision maker as a coach, you're betting on some aspect of your team. If you're receiving that kick, then you're betting on your offense to make a play. Tomlin bet on the stronger unit of the two, which was the defense, and I understand that.
Okay, where else now?
To go back to JuJu, I mean, with the fumble, this is the second time it's happened. I mean, it's still, I think, the second career fumble that JuJu's had. They've just unfortunately both come in horrific moments. The Saints game last year and Baltimore Sunday. I mean, I don't even know where to start and how to frame this conversation of, where does JuJu go from here? Does it
I tell you how others are trying to frame it. And you know where I'm.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
That's just BS, right? I mean, are you worried about JuJu having too much fun off the field?
No, I think that's a silly talking point.
I do too. I think it's a very silly narrative. Just look, you want to rip other aspects of this team and players, rip it. But
and the reason why I say that is because A, we know he works hard. I mean, we saw him at training camp. We've seen the videos he's posted. I mean, the guy clearly puts in the work. And B, even if he wasn't in the spotlight, what's the difference between playing Fortnite or going somewhere versus sitting at home and binging Netflix? I mean, does it really matter? Either way, you're not working. So that's fine. It's good to have fun. It's good to be who you are. He's not fumbling that ball away because he talks about Fortnite. I mean, that's not a correlation.
I think what a lot of people have issue with is the fact that he puts all of it out there on social media.
Yeah. Well, again, whether he did or didn't, he'd still be doing the act, and that's
right. But when you don't see it versus you see it,
sure.
I
get that.
I don't have an issue with his life. I mean, look,
right.
He's not. I don't think he drinks or anything like that. I mean, I think when he goes out, he's just. I don't know what time he goes home. It's the furthest thing from my furthest thing from my mind as an issue with what JuJu does once he comes off the practice field or the playing field.
I agree. As long as he's working hard, doing the things from a football standpoint he needs to do, which by all indications he is, then he can do whatever he wants in his free time, as long as he's not getting himself into trouble.
All right, where else do we go?
But, I mean, with JuJu, I mean, is there anything you tell him? How does he personally deal with this? I mean, he felt as terrible as anybody about, the fumble. You saw how kind of just distraught he was after the game. It is a concern, though, just in the way that James Conner has been a concern with his late game fumbles. It's disappointing that some of the Steelers' top skill guys have horrible fumble timing, with Conner and JuJu, that have really cost his team over the last 2 years.
Yeah, just hold on to the football.
Yeah, it's ironic that a week ago I was telling Deontay Johnson 2 hands on the football, and he gets it knocked out. So he'll have to bounce back. I mean, he'll have to be a leader for this team. I mean, that's really all you can do, and just show better ball security and better ball awareness.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just it's so disheartening. As you said, you've had 2 games this year already come down to late possessions, and turnovers have killed you.
Yep.
Sometimes it's the team that makes the last play.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Or the team that makes the last mistake loses. That's usually how this goes. Small odds and ends. Ola Adeni, the roughing the passer call on the Ravens game-tying drive at the end of the fourth quarter. It's just a bad call, and I don't know if they were calling that one more cautiously because of the Rudolph injury or just the terrible mechanism of how the league handles, roughing the passer calls. But that was a clean hit, and Ola apologized for it after the game, but he's got nothing to apologize for. That was a fine play in my book.
Well, I mean, did you see the GIF I put up this morning of a similar play late in the game against the Chiefs?
Yeah, I saw that. And that was not called, correct?
Right, that was not called. Now, here is the rule on that. A Russian defender is prohibited from forcibly hitting in the knee area or below a passer who has one or both feet on the ground, even if the initial contact is above the knee. It is not a foul if the defender is blocked or fouled into the passer. It has no opportunity to avoid him. Then there's notes under each one, 1 and 2. A defender cannot initiate a roll or lunge and forcibly hit the passer in the knee area or below, even if he is being contacted by another player. Number 2, it is not a foul if the defender swipes or grabs a passer in the knee area. Hold on, let me reread that. It is not a foul if the defender swipes or grabs a passer in the knee area or below in an attempt to tackle him, provided he does not make forcible contact with the helmet, shoulder, chest, or forearm. Now, you look at this in slow-mo, frame by frame, and it's funny that this rule says a rushing defender is prohibited from forcibly hitting in the knee area or below a passer who has one or both feet on the ground. I mean, it's close to Jackson really having both feet off the ground when a Danny makes initial contact with him. It's close, but I do think there's one tippy toe maybe on the ground in that aspect. But he does try. I mean, I think he's got his head up. I mean, he's got his head basically kind of buried in Jackson's crotch, right? And his arms kind of around initial contact just above the knee. And then, of course, gravity's undefeated. He slides down and that drew, I guess, the flag there. I mean, it's so.
Because he slides down. I mean, he's hitting him above and he slides down because it's a tackle. You don't slide up, you slide down.
Right. Like I said, gravity takes over there. It most definitely is a ticky-tack call for sure. Now, should something like that be reviewable?
It's probably going to get to that point.
You know where I'm going with this. I mean, there's going, like it or not, we're going to have some level of subjectivity in this. And there's going to be wrong. We're not going to get away from bitching about calls.
Yeah. I know he wasn't blocked into it, but he was losing his balance because he's trying to squeeze through the gap and kind of gets shoved. And I think it caused him to fall a bit at the end. He didn't intentionally go low, coming in, totally clean and free. And then B, I guess it was the bigger issue just to the way the league polices roughing the passer in general. And we've seen horrendous calls across the NFL, and the hit, very much air quotes here on Dak Prescott yesterday, which, to be fair to the refs, the letter of the law, that is a foul to get hit in the helmet like that. Mason Rudolph got called when he got swiped in the helmet too. To me, that should not be a roughing the passer call. I mean, I think we have to have some common sense here about what roughing the passer is. So some of this is the refs just being hamstrung by the NFL's own rules and then being forced to call stuff that everyone realizes and understands is not roughing the passer, and that speaks to the bigger systemic issue the league has and needing to re-clarify and redo its rule book here to make sense. It's a pretty easy target here.
Well, how do you change the rule here and the interpretation so whereas Danny doesn't get called on this?
Well, I don't know if maybe in that specific case there's anything to change, because I think the rule in general of not going low on a quarterback is fine. I'm okay with that. I just think it was a bad call by the refs. I guess to the larger point, some of the accidental open palm swipe to the helmet that the Rudolph was called for, and Dak Prescott was called for or against, whatever the phrasing is, yesterday. I think that's stuff that the league wants to work on. So it's my frustration overall with how the league handles all roughing the passer calls for a couple of years now, more than it is, I guess, maybe the specific call on a day knee, which I think was just a misinterpretation of the rule by the ref.
Here's what Gene Steratore, former NFL official and rules analyst for CBS, put on Twitter. I'm all for protecting the quarterback, but this is not roughing the passer in Baltimore versus Pittsburgh. From this angle, that is clear. But remember, the referee is behind the quarterback. I believe that these types of plays are much less subjective than pass interference. It would be easier to review. He wants to put it back on what would you have to do? Challenge this? You know,
I guess. Yeah.
If it was a type of penalty that could be challenged, and once again you're taking away, you're having stoppage. You're getting back to too many things being reviewable here. Now, it wasn't the back judge that threw the flag on this, was it?
I don't know. I didn't see who threw the flag.
Yeah, I forgot to.
Might have been the side judge.
It might have been the side judge on this one. Look, I mean,
as soon as they threw the flag, I said I knew they're going to get Ola for that. They shouldn't, but I was like, oh my god, they actually flagged him for that. I was so mad.
How big a play actually was this?
Oh, it was huge. If it had not been called, it would have been what, third and 8. Third and 8 with how much time left? A minute something?
Let's see,
Or the 2-minute warning?
2:30 left in the fourth quarter.
Third and 8 on their own, 35-yard line?
They
something like
were,
that.
hold on here, Ravens' own 27-yard line. Third and 8.
Yeah, I mean, you're 2 plays away from winning that thing. And so instead they got a 1st and 10 at their 45.
42.
Yeah, so I mean that and that's
still,
basically 10 yards out of
right.
range.
They're still 10 yards out of field goal range though, right? I mean,
sure, but I mean, big difference. I mean, that was obviously a huge play.
I'm not trying to downplay it, but I mean, I'm just saying. Look, and I think Daney took the right view on it. I thought it was a clean play, but the ref called it like they did, and we just got to keep playing defense and overcome it.
Yeah, but we both agree that was a terrible call, incorrect call.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
You seem a little shakier on it than I am.
I mean, I understand why it was called, is what I'm getting at.
Okay.
I don't like it.
Do you agree the NFL's got to redo its throw from the passer?
But I don't know how.
Overall?
I don't know how you do that, though. I mean,
let me ask you, did you see the hit on Dak Prescott, the ref and the passer calling him yesterday's game?
Not replayed live. I remember seeing it, but I don't remember closely. No, I have not closely analyzed it. I only looked at the one from the Colts and Chiefs last night.
What about the one on Rudolph where he got slapped in the helmet early in that game? Do you remember that one?
Yeah, I mean, if you touch the helmet, it should be a penalty.
I don't think it should be, is what I'm saying. I know that it is, and the ref's calling that because that's what the rule says, and that's what they're being held to. But I think that's where the NFL has to adjust it.
What about that one on Big Dan? Was it last year or the year before on was it Baker that he barely touched the helmet on?
Yeah, I don't remember. You're probably right. You have a good memory with these things, but that's the stuff where it's common sense. That's clearly incidental. And that's how it used to be with the NFL. It used to be incidental contact with the helmet. They let it go, and they changed that 3-4 years ago, and now it's a mess.
All right. I mean, you're going to have some level of subjectivity in it. So.
Yeah, but I think we can have some level of common sense that the league is severely lacking when it comes to some of those calls.
All
right. Anything else from this game? I mean, it's just more of the same. Struggled on possession downs. Defense made plays. Offense didn't capitalize on. Special teams wasn't good enough. I thought Boswell and Barry did well, so hats off to them. Barry pinning that one at the 1-yard line was an awesome play. That's all I got. You're 1-14 right now. It's not fun.
No, it's not fun at all here. Here's a report from Ed Werder this morning. In a recent conversation with someone who knows Dan Snyder well and is aware of his thoughts. By the way, the Redskins fired Jay Gruden. Is aware of his thoughts on potential next Redskins head coaches that any list of candidates would include Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin, Bucks DC Todd Bowles, Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy. How is Mike Tomlin even on the list yet?
I don't know. He's not going to Washington.
All right, 1-14. What else? Any other calls that we need to address, or what about timeouts late in that game or whatnot?
I can't even think back to some of the timeout usage. There wasn't anything glaring to me. I mean, I don't like spending a lot of time talking about referees and calls, but
we just spent a lot of time.
No,
I
know. I thought it warranted it just for how critical and game changing that call was, and I thought how wrong that call was too.
All right. Well, let's make it a point to both kind of look at the timeouts, how they were used in this game, and hit back on it maybe on the Wednesday show after we get. Cause look, I mean, I've gone through the tape already, the TV tape twice, but as usual, man, the all 22 will show us things that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
What about Devin Bush's interception though?
Yeah, so earlier it was a great play. I mean, well, are you saying if it was a catch or not?
Right.
Or are you questioning? I thought it was a good catch. I thought he had control, and then it hit the ground as he has control of the football.
I was worried about it being overturned.
Yeah, well, you never know with the league, but I think they really kind of opted to let things stand on the field a lot this year. It felt like, especially with the pass interference stuff.
And what about the Connor? Did you get a good look
Touchdown?
at the Connor?
Yeah, he was in. I don't know why it took him 10 minutes to review the thing. I mean,
No, wasn't there one about him losing the ball?
Oh, the fumble. I mean, it was he was down, 100% down, and it was hard to see, but the one angle showed it. He was clearly the right elbow was down.
All right, where does this team go from here? I mean, you got another tough game. This one on the road back on the West Coast, right?
Yeah.
Against a Chargers team. Where are you now?
I don't know. You're just trying to get a victory, I guess, and just hoping the AFC North is a 9-win title, and somehow you could, make it interesting with a lot of AFC North wins. But yeah, it's just I give Steelers credit because I thought this was going to be kind of a lopsided loss, and it felt like that early, being down 10-0. I literally said it's going to be a long day, and to their credit, they came back and certainly were in position to win. But as Tomlin very tersely said post game, he's not interested in moral victories, and they're 1-4.
Chargers open up, I think 5.5-point favorites in this. I think it's moved to 6 at most places already. There, you're battling Phillip Rivers. You're probably going to you might have to start a guy in Devlin Hodges there against them. Might be without one of your receivers in James Washington. What a mess.
Yeah, it's a sorry. I mean, when was the last time we felt? I guess it was probably 2013. Felt this pessimistic about the Steelers' chances this early into a season.
Yeah, I guess that would be it. That much disparity in the win-loss column.
Yeah. So just try to get a victory. I don't know. I mean, that's all you can really root for at this point.
Yeah, I mean, look, it all starts one win at a time, and you're going to have to do a lot of scoreboard watching along the way here. I guess if there's any positive is the schedule lightens up after the Chargers, but it's going to be too late, right? I mean, you're facing your 5th loss. You would have to pretty much run the table or only have one more loss after that.
Yeah, you got to run the AFC North for sure. You can't lose again. Probably pick up wins over the Cardinals, the Jets, probably maybe Buffalo, Miami. You'd have to probably do all that and get some help along the way.
And look, the Colts. We saw the Colts aren't really a pushover either, right?
I still had them win in the South even after Luck retired. They're a good team, well-coached team.
Okay, how far are we into this thing now?
A little over an hour. So before, do you want to get to some reader emails? I want to talk about our friends over at MyBookie before we do that.
Yeah, let's get to MyBookie. I don't know about you guys, but for me, a game is 10 times more exciting when I'm putting my money on it. Sometimes I have a gut feeling about a matchup, and sometimes I'm just betting on my team because they're my team. Regardless, whether you've been betting for years or you're ready to play for the first time, MyBookie is the best bet this season. If you're the kind of guy or gal who likes to bet a little and win a lot, try out one of those parlays, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, however many team parlay you want. For instance, if you like a couple of the big favorites this week, parlays are perfect because they let you bet on multiple games together for a much bigger payout. You can bet tonight's game too, Cleveland Browns and the San Francisco 49ers. So if you're going to bet this season, do the smart thing and go to mybookie.ag because no one gives you more ways to win. Between football season and Major League Baseball play, I haven't watched not one baseball game since the playoffs started here. I've been so busy with football as I should be here. Between football season, the Major League Baseball playoffs, and the start of the NBA and NHL seasons, it's time to get off the sideline and get in on the action, and you can do all of that at mybookie.ag. If you really want to support your team this season, don't just sit on the sidelines. Get in the game with mybookie.ag. And if you join right now, MyBookie will double your first deposit. Use promo code terrible, like the Steelers special team return units, terrible, to activate the offer. That's promo code terrible to double your cash. Visit mybookie.ag today. You play, you win, you get paid.
All right, let's get to some reader emails. And I just saw one in our Facebook inbox from, I wouldn't call him a friend based on the tone of this, but Rondis says, this site has the most ignorant report on Facebook and Bleacher Report. Please shut it down. I think the stupid within your business is sweeping through everyone. So thank you, Rondis, for your very kind words.
All right, shut it down.
Shut it down.
These, let me tell you, these ones in the, what? Read that one again. What did she say?
This site, I don't know what this even is not. I don't know what it's referring to. This site, our site, I guess, has the most ignorant report on Facebook and Bleacher Report. Please shut it down. I think the stupid within your business is sweeping through everyone.
All right.
No idea.
This one from Jonathan Mason, email writes in, Alex Dave, in your opinion, what can this offense do to improve? Is it just lack of talent at this point? I'm not sure why everyone wants to complain about the coaching when given the circumstance this team is playing every game close. The defense is finally getting takeaways, and the offense isn't doing enough with them. Thanks, Jonathan. Yeah, we hit on, you got to bury these turnovers for one. Hey, they're on their second and third string quarterbacks right now anyway, so you're handicapped in that aspect. You're throwing Wildcat passes for 7 maximum yards deep in your own end, with that only being your only win, your max win capability out of that. I mean, they did better as the game went along there. We started to see some progress from Mason Rudolph. Saw some good things from Hodges there. Thankfully the defense is playing well. But yeah, I mean, they've lost the last three games by a combined score of 9 points.
Yep. I mean, aside from New England, their 3 losses are by, 2, 4, and 3. So 9 points total.
If we're playing horseshoes or hand grenades, we'd be right in there.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had an answer for what to do, especially this week. It's going to be tough. I mean, you have to be better on possession downs. That's still the big thing. They're, still around 30% for the season, maybe a little worse than that. I'll have to see where they are let me see where they are league-wide in downs. Specifically, though, what do you do? I don't know of any concepts off the top of my head right now, but yeah, capitalizing off the turnovers, being better on possession downs, those are the big keys for sure.
Yeah, I think you hit them there, most definitely there. You got to do better on third downs, and you got to bury the ball on turnovers, especially when you get it plus territory there.
Steelers looks like they're 29th on third down, 28.3% on the season. Only teams worse than the Steelers on third down are Miami, Washington, and New York. And I believe those are the 3 winless teams in football remaining, correct?
I think so.
Miami, Washington, and the Jets. So bad company to keep.
Yeah, Michael Hewlett writes in, Javon Hargrave for a second or third to Dallas, right? Let's just be half full right now. You're asking a lot of Hodges at this point. Look, I mean, you're asking a lot from this team once Ben Roethlisberger went down. Steelers will continue to lose close games. It hurts to say. Michael, here's the thing about Javon Hargrave that the biggest thing. What can you get for him? For a guy that is you would have to go into it knowing that you'd be willing to use a franchise tag on him, or if not, what are you going to give up for a guy? Is he the difference maker to give up a second or third for to get you to a Super Bowl?
Well, I think for some team he might be, or at least a big key that they may be missing. And then I'm sure, again, I understand there's a chance of him being a rental player, but if you're a team acquiring him, you may be even able to talk to his agent beforehand and get an idea for the price, and also just understanding about what his market's going to be after the year. So I think any team's going to have that understanding trying to trade for him.
Oh, get out of the way of that train, Alex. That's the thing. You're talking probably about a limited amount of teams. but at least it only takes one. What's good compensation? I mean, obviously wouldn't let him go for less than a third. Can he get a second for him? I don't know. But once again, you'd probably, like Alex said, you'd have to let whatever team, talk to his agent and maybe get something worked out ahead of time that if we traded for him, we could sign him to this contract. You definitely have to start looking at that because, I mean, at this point, it's hard to imagine Hargrave being back next season. It's hard to imagine, as part of that, it's hard to imagine the Steelers putting a franchise tag on him. So at whatever point that you wave the white flag, which has to be fairly soon before the trade deadline, you have to put him out there and shop him, I think. But what do I don't think you'd let him go for less than a third. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely not less than a third because you hope to get that third-round comp pick for him if you can't trade him. So you're not trading him for a fourth-round pick and then getting probably less. You're looking for a second or third. But, yeah, I'm definitely looking to shop him. I think you could potentially get a second maybe. I think a third is pretty safe that you can reasonably get him, especially if a team knows they can re-sign him long-term or franchise tag him if they feel like they have the cap space for it, which a lot of teams will. This offseason, what team? Dallas could be one. I think Philadelphia, Houston, maybe those teams would make sense as well. But yeah, trade deadline's coming up in 3 weeks, so you got a big decision to make. I think it'd be the right move to look to shop them.
And then also, you don't want to get hurt, right? But I mean, at what point do you wave the white flag? Are you shopping them this week, Alex?
I think those talks heat up as time goes along. I don't know. There's a lot of trade talks right now. You may informally ask around. But I don't think those things really heat up until you get real close to the trade deadline.
All right, our buddy Dan from Brisbane, Australia writes in, this season, good day, Dave and Alex. This season might be done, but I like to focus on some positives I've seen so far. Fitzpatrick looks really good. The overall play of the defense has improved since the trade. We have him for years, yet on a rookie deal. How you look at that trade for Mika right now, Alex, a couple weeks removed from it?
Oh, I think they got a really good player in Fitzpatrick. I think he's an excellent, instinctive guy who's able to make big plays. Again, the national media is going to view Pittsburgh as likely getting a top 10 pick in next year's draft, which obviously goes to Miami, and they're going to view that negatively. And I understand that, but I can live with it just knowing because you're going to need to take a free safety in next year's draft anyway. So the national media is going to crush Pittsburgh for it, but I can live with the decision because Fitzpatrick is the real deal.
Number 2, we have 2 intriguing options at quarterback to evaluate for the future. I'm not sure Duck or Mason will work out, but I'm eager to watch them get more snaps. I will say this, you got a lot of time left now, and I've said this for a few weeks now. You got a lot of time to evaluate Mason, and unfortunately, you're probably going to have time now to at least maybe another game to evaluate Hodges on there. So I guess that's kind of glass half full look at that situation there. Boswell seems to be back to his best form. Hooray!
It's a 6-10 season. Hooray! Mason's looked good. I've been really impressed with Rudolph. Haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the next part of what I wanted to see, and like I said, even what we saw from Baltimore, we still don't make hard conclusions off of that, right? But we have seen him take that next step, correct?
Mm-hmm. I've seen a lot of the young guys step up, whether it's Deontay Johnson, or Devin Bush, and Mason Rudolph, so guys that will be back for next year when hopefully you get this thing back together. You're in the right direction. Obviously, Rudolph may not be part of that because Ben's going to be back, but you get my point.
So, I mean, I guess, the young players are playing reasonably well, and we did see Mason take the next step there. Unfortunate that he suffered that injury there, and hopefully we get him back sooner rather than later. A gut punch. This one's from Bryce. Hey, guys, it's Bryce. Steelers needed to win last week, this week, and next week to save their season and get to the bye week at 500. I think it's safe to say that barring a miracle, the season is over. A couple thoughts, questions for Jens. One, I still see a team that has a long way to go when it comes to winning consistently on third downs. Alex and I already talked about third downs, particularly when you're playing against Baltimore. The Baltimore special teams, you just got to get off the field on those third and longs to keep them from driving, flipping the field, and getting points and hidden yards from all-world specialists. Your thoughts? Yeah, we knew there. That's why we didn't even talk about the specialists going into this thing. They're so damn good. And when you're only, if you're not converting third downs and you're turning the football over in overtime, you got what you got. Number 2, Tomlin is pissed at the kickoff return team, and rightly so, but what games has he been watching over the years? The special team units, sans AB on punt return, have been well below varsity. He only has himself to blame for keeping Danny Smith. Thoughts? Look, I mean, you're going to have to, I think Alex and I had, or at least I had a pretty damn good rant about that. Stop telling me about the labor pain. Show me the baby. Make some changes now. You got to do something there. So I think the rant that Alex and I both had answers your questions when it comes to that. Number 3, guys, I know I brought this up before, and yes, he called plays on the college level, but I think Fichtner's inexperience with play calling and strategy on the pro level are causing some unfortunate growing pains. Some of those early calls really put the offense in a hole, and I think the team. He got too conservative and settled for the field goal. Thoughts? I think the biggest thing is starting the game there, the last couple of games right off the start. And then obviously the play call, as Alex pointed out, the Wildcat and the in the red zone there. You can go through every game and take issue with play calls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's easy to go back and play armchair quarterback, but again, that Wildcat play, I mean, what is the best?
The 2 Wildcat plays should be the ones people are most aggravated about right now.
Yeah, the interception and that 2nd and 1 play, is that the other one you're referring to?
The one in the red zone that went for negative yardage.
Yeah, it's the 2nd and 1 play. Yeah, I mean, again, that Wildcat pass. Again, I wasn't opposed to the idea of doing a trick play. Credit to you, Dave, for calling it. But the payoff of that play is a 7-yard gain to James Washington, and that is not worth a trick play. It never is, never will be.
Like I said, I envisioned something around the plus 40. A double pass. Go if you got to run a trick play, you better run. What was Johnny Holton thinking on that one play too? We didn't get on that one. The offense. Why didn't he stay outside on that one?
Oh yeah, the reverse they ran. Yeah, that could have been a touchdown, and he cut it back inside for some reason in like a 4-yard gain.
So is that the play call, or is that on the player?
No, that was on Holton. That should have been a bigger play at least.
All right, this one from Brogan from the University of Iowa. I know your inbox is probably full of the season is over and all negative questions. Do you guys think there is any hope left for the season? It's going to require most likely to win in LA and win the 5 remaining division games. I do think it is possible, and I'm seeing positives as the season progresses. The defense is getting better, and Mason looked more comfortable with the offense before leaving the game. With that said, do you think there are any chances of making the playoffs? Look, I mean, it's understandable why we're so bleak here. You have to, take care of the division from here on out. You just cannot lose any more division games. Second, you're going to need help. And third, you're going to have to win some of these other games. It's
just that easy, huh? That's all it takes.
I mean, that's all it takes. I mean, it's hard. And look, they're probably going to be close in a few of these. But close is not going to do it.
Nope. Yeah, again, 3 losses by 9 points. This team can't close out games. They don't know how to do it. And I don't know if that may change once or twice this season, but it's not going to change enough. And
you know me, I'm looking for any instance to put out there to say, aha, see, back when we said back in ahead of week 6 game that there's the offense, Rudolph's playing better, defense playing better. There's a chance, Alex. I mean, it's snowball's chance in hell, but there's a chance. I mean, really, it is good to see the defense playing, but I just think the hole that you're in right now with the parts that you have, especially on offense, man, it's hard to have any optimism.
Yeah, we knew the reality of what would happen had they lost Sunday and dropped to 1-4 versus winning and going to 2-3, and now it's time to face the music.
Joe writes in, still trying to digest the loss versus the Ravens earlier. Checking Twitter and reading what some fans say really irritates me. One in particular was Tomlin's decision to kick off in overtime. He was absolutely correct there, and I was glad he did it. Our kick return team is terrible. By the way, that's a promo code for mybookie.ag. If Bill Belichick made that call, everyone would be calling him a genius. I'm not saying Tomlin is perfect, but he is a good coach and made the correct call. Look, as Alex and I said, I think if you look at it in hindsight, it was the right choice. Now do something about that return team so you don't, So maybe you give you a chance in overtime of returning one back to the 50 or whatnot. Keep up the good work on the podcast. Thank you, Joe. Let's see here. Boy, we got a lot of mad ones here. This one from Shelly Ann. I am processing a heartbreaking loss, keeping in perspective that this is a game since my hometown is mourning the loss of our high school football hero who died of cancer this past week. Hashtag fight like 4. And I realize that while we are 1-4, we have a solid, albeit young team. I need to say too that I'm sending positive vibes for Rudolph, that he is healthy quick. Though I am a Hodges supporter. Rudolph played very well prior to the concussion. I hope he doesn't have lingering effects. He has improved each game, which is what you ask of a young quarterback. I also think Hodges is going to have a successful NFL career, though probably not with the Steelers since we are so invested in Rudolph. Look, you have Hodges under contract for a little while, so he's not going anywhere if you'd like him. He can hang around. Now, he's going to hang around for at least the next couple weeks, that's for sure. Let's see. Shelley goes on to write, our defense played well against an often confusing, unique offense. Our offense moved the ball spottily, but we did it with an undrafted rookie quarterback, and I don't think who I don't think had played a regular season down until today. There is future for the Steelers, even a post-Ben future. It's still possible to sneak into playoffs with some luck if we can run the table in the rest of our division games. We can beat the Ravens. We will beat the Bengals. The Browns are beatable too, so it's a slim chance. If not, think we have a really good chance of dominating next year. I guess I'm sending this to say I believe, and as devastating as this loss was, we can't give up completely. Shelley.
I appreciate the optimism. We'll see what happens next week. But I think, as Dave and I outlined, all the reasons why it's tough to share that optimism right now.
Jaden Priest writes in, hey guys, this week I felt like for the most part they played a really good game, but the red zone offense has been pretty bad. And I understand we have different guys from last year, Ben and AB, but is the problem of lack of execution, or is it bad play calling there? Look, I think anytime you're not putting enough points on the board offensively, it generally stems from lack of execution and some bad play calling.
Yeah, six of one, half dozen the other. I think it's a combination of things. I think you said that well.
Michael Rocket writes in, when did we turn into the Browns? Dear Terrible Podcast, I feel over the last 2 years we have turned into the Cleveland Browns, a.k.a. the mistake on the lake. It is getting hard to watch the team find new ways to lose games over the last 2 seasons. It is not the Steelers' fault for a last-minute blunder. Then I feel the referees step in to assure another painful loss. Anyways, thanks for letting me vent, and I know it's probably harder on the players who actually go out there and work hard to win. Here's to hoping the Cleveland curse. Bless me. Here's to hoping the Cleveland curse has not moved to Pittsburgh. Tequila shot down. He might have had a one or two to drink here. Keep up the great work. Love listening. The Luxembourg faithful. Michael Rocket.
Yeah, I don't know. You're right that it's become comical almost to see all the different ways this team can lose and how they're unable to win close games when that used to be a calling card of this team, winning close games, closing things out, finishing teams, and they can't do that. But when your offense is struggling the way that it is, that often happens.
This one says, JuJu ball security from Matt. With his crucial fumble last season against the Saints, and with what happened Sunday costing the Steelers with another fumble, is ball security starting to become a concern with JuJu? It is in key moments of games. I mean, how many fumbles does he have overall, though? 2? How many times? I
saw the stat that said, yeah, just 2. I can double check that.
I don't know. I have not officially checked the number on that.
I'll look. Pro Football Reference here. But it's an issue. I mean, in big moments. I mean, there's no denying just the way that it is for Connor.
What do you have there?
Two fumbles. Saints game and yesterday.
So
that's it.
2, but they're at the bad time, so they're magnified even more. I mean, it's one thing we didn't hit about, it was Xavier Grimble. Speaking of fumbles, they released him with an injury settlement. We'll find out soon what that amount was, but he was, of course, put on IR last week, and I don't know if he asked, hey, just give me an injury settlement and get me out of here or what. But he is now gone, and I got to admit, the way that kind of all that transpired last week with him being kind of hopeful and not really seeing the moment he got injured and knowing that his blocking has not been all that, not overly surprised he's no longer with the Steelers.
Yeah, a weird way to end it. Disappointing career. A guy that had a lot of talent, just couldn't put it together. We'll see if he lands back on his feet. He'll probably end up in some camp again, I would imagine, but not in Pittsburgh.
I think you used a little hyperbole there when you said a lot of talent.
Well, physically, he looked good getting off the bus.
There you go. That's the proper way to describe it there. He looked good getting off the bus. What else do we have? I think we got all of them, Alex. I think some people probably, I don't know. Hopefully, a lot of people didn't kick out the chair this morning. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe we'll have fewer. I guess we're getting close to the fire everybody emails here. I'm surprised we didn't have more of them today. Mike Tomlin press conference on Tuesday. I'm sure we'll get some updates on how some of these injuries have gone. Let's see, what else do we have? We'll start getting snap counts and regular post up on Steelers Depot as we start slowly moving on. We'll look at the Ravens game. Alex and I will talk a little bit more about what we saw in all 22 from the Ravens game on Wednesday. We'll hopefully have a beat writer start previewing the game against the Chargers as well too. What do you want to leave us with here, Alex?
I'd love to go out on a positive note. I was happy to get Vince Williams back. I thought he played well. Did some 3 linebacker stuff with that. I don't know. It was heartbreaking. Yesterday was just a heartbreaking, soul crushing kind of loss.
I mean, you're probably I don't know, if JuJu doesn't fumble there, do they win the game?
I like their odds. I think they would have moved the football. They would have been at the 47-yard line. I think they could have done it.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, we'll see if we can't dig up any other optimism laying around here in the backyard between now and the Wednesday podcast. Until then, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast at gmail.com. If you like what we do, we got a lot more podcasts on tap for the remainder of the season. If you want to donate to the cause, go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button, upper right navigational bar. If you want a ad-free version of the site, SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button, upper right navigational bar for $25. You can have an ad-free version of SteelersDepot.com for 1 calendar year. Alex, until Wednesday, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.